invisible realms or in the mental struggles we face, but is also directly connected to what we consume every day, especially food. In modern society, food has become more than just a source of nourishment for the body. It is turned into a spiritual battlefield where Satan, the enemy of the soul, relentlessly attacks. Through subtle and invisible influences, Satan has cleverly used food as a tool to manipulate people, leading them into unhealthy consumption habits that weaken both the body and the spirit. Every meal is not only about providing nutrients, it can also represent a step in the spiritual battle. In the Bible, we see clearly that food has always played an important role in the relationship between humans and God. From the Garden of Eden, Satan used the forbidden fruit to tempt Eve, leading to the fall of mankind. This shows us that food is not merely physical sustenance. It has a profound impact on our spirit and our relationship with God. In fact, our food choices can reflect the level of loyalty and worship people have toward the Creator. Meanwhile, Satan continues to turn food into a tool that causes us to fall into temptation, weakening both our bodies and clouding our spiritual awareness. Today's food is not just a combination of natural ingredients. It increasingly consists of artificial products, chemicals, and preservatives that paralyze the human body. Processed foods, high in fat, sugar, and chemicals, may provide temporary comfort, but they ultimately weaken the body, causing fatigue and lack of vitality. When the body is fed these things, it not only weakens physically, it becomes spiritually numb. The mind becomes foggy. Feelings of depression and a lack of energy emerge, and it becomes difficult to connect with God in moments of prayer, quietness, and reflection. This is Satan's strategy, to render people spiritually numb, unable to discern truth from lies, and unable to hear God's voice. A prime example is the uncontrollable craving for sugar and processed foods. This has become a cycle that is difficult to break. These cravings are not only a physical need, but also an unconscious desire caused by a soul that is shaken, swept up in an endless whirlpool. Sugar, which may provide short-term joy, is a double-edged sword. It not only weakens the body, but also dulls the mind, making it harder to feel God's presence in daily life. This is the trick Satan uses to pull people away from vigilance, causing them to live in dependence on material temptations instead of finding fulfillment in their relationship with God. However, this battle is not just about the body, it is also a spiritual fight. The food we choose can impact our ability to perceive and respond to God's teachings. When we are lacking in energy, feeling exhausted, or always tired, our ability to hear and understand God's word may diminish. That is when Satan finds an opportunity to lead us astray, away from the divine values that God wants us to live by. Therefore, maintaining a healthy diet based on biblical principles and God's guidance does not only help us stay physically healthy, it also strengthens us in this spiritual battle. Ultimately, we must recognize that this battle is not just about food, but about our loyalty and worship of God. Every choice we make in what we eat is an expression of respect for the body, which is the temple of God. To triumph in this spiritual battle, we need to be aware that what we eat affects not only our health, but also our spiritual life. Only when we make the right choices, live in vigilance, and follow God's guidance can we achieve spiritual strength, clarity of mind, and victory in the battle against the enemy. In today's modern world, the food industry has revolutionized the way we eat. One of the most noticeable shifts has been the rise of artificial and over-processed foods. These foods, designed to be convenient, long-lasting, and appealing, have become staples in many households. However, beneath the surface of these seemingly harmless products lies a range of issues that can seriously affect our health. The increasing reliance on artificial and over-processed foods has created a culture of quick, easy, and often unhealthy meals, which ultimately take a toll on both our physical well-being and our relationship with nature. Artificial foods, as the name suggests, are made through synthetic processes that mimic the taste, texture, and appearance of natural foods. They are often loaded with chemicals, preservatives, colors, and flavor enhancers, far from the pure and natural ingredients that our bodies were designed to process. Over-processed foods, on the other hand, undergo multiple stages of industrial processing, removing many of the original nutrients in the process and replacing them with additives that make the food more palatable and longer lasting. These foods are often high in refined sugars, unhealthy fats, and sodium. When consumed in large quantities, they can contribute to various chronic diseases, such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. One of the primary concerns about artificial and over-processed foods is their impact on our body's natural functioning. When we consume these types of foods, we are essentially feeding our bodies substances that they were never intended to process. Artificial additives and preservatives can accumulate in the body and, over time, may lead to toxicity, inflammation, and weakened immune systems. For instance, artificial sweeteners and preservatives have been linked to various health issues, including headaches, digestive problems, and even long-term risks such as cancer. Additionally, the lack of essential nutrients in these foods means we are not getting the vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that are crucial for maintaining a healthy immune system, brain function, and overall vitality. Another major problem with over-processed foods is that they often cause an imbalance in our gut microbiome. Our digestive system relies on a healthy balance of bacteria and other microorganisms to process food properly. However, artificial and overly processed foods can disrupt this balance, leading to gut dysbiosis, linked to digestive problems, poor immune function, and even mood disorders. The consumption of artificial additives and sugars can alter the gut's bacterial composition, making it harder for our bodies to absorb nutrients effectively and leading to a cycle of poor health that is difficult to break. In addition to the physical consequences, overprocessed and artificial foods also have a psychological impact. These foods are often designed to trigger specific taste receptors in our brains, causing us to crave them more and more. The combination of salt, sugar, and fat in many processed foods can create an addictive cycle, making it hard to resist the temptation to eat them. This not only affects our physical health, but also our mental and emotional well-being, as we become dependent on these foods for comfort and pleasure, rather than nourishing our bodies with wholesome, natural ingredients. The environmental impact of artificial and overprocessed foods cannot be ignored either. The production of these foods often involves large amounts of energy, water, and resources, and the packaging is frequently not biodegradable or recyclable. The agriculture industry is also heavily involved in the mass production of ingredients used in processed foods, which often leads to deforestation, soil depletion, and other forms of environmental degradation. The industrial food system, designed to meet the demand for cheap, convenient foods, has a significant carbon footprint and contributes to the global environmental crisis. Despite these concerns, the convenience and affordability of artificial and overprocessed foods have made them hard to resist. In a fast-paced society, many people find it easier to grab a ready-made meal or snack than to prepare something fresh and nutritious. However, it is important to be aware of the long-term consequences of these choices and to seek a more balanced approach to eating. This can involve opting for whole, unprocessed foods whenever possible, cooking meals from scratch, and being mindful of the ingredients that go into the foods we consume. By making more informed choices, we can reduce our reliance on artificial and overprocessed foods and protect both our health and the environment. Ultimately, the rise of artificial and overprocessed foods highlights the need for greater awareness about the impact of our food choices. While these foods may seem convenient and harmless in the short term, their long-term effects on our bodies, minds, and the planet are undeniable. It is up to each of us to take responsibility for what we eat and to make choices that nourish not only our bodies, but also our spirits and the world around us. By embracing a more natural, balanced approach to food, we can create a healthier and more sustainable future for ourselves and future generations. In today's fast-paced world, sugar has become a common ingredient in many of our daily foods and drinks, and its addictive qualities have contributed significantly to a range of health issues. Often consumed in excess, sugar provides a quick source of energy and a temporary sense of pleasure, which can create a cycle of dependence and lead to serious long-term consequences. The addictive nature of sugar is compounded by its ability to offer false comfort, making it an emotional crutch for many people, particularly in stressful or difficult situations. However, this comfort is only temporary, masking deeper issues that cannot be solved by consuming sugary foods and drinks. The immediate effect of sugar consumption is often a quick burst of energy, which can provide a feeling of heightened alertness or euphoria. This is because sugar triggers the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. However, this high is short lived and soon followed by a crash, leaving individuals feeling fatigued and craving more sugar. This cycle of rapid highs and lows is one of the reasons why sugar is so addictive. People begin to associate sugar with a quick fix to boost their mood or alleviate stress, reinforcing the desire to reach for sugary snacks and drinks as a form of comfort. Unfortunately, this dependence on sugar is harmful to both physical and mental health. Excessive sugar consumption has been linked to a variety of chronic conditions, including obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and dental problems. Consuming large amounts of sugar can cause spikes in blood glucose levels, leading to insulin resistance over time. This not only puts individuals at risk of developing diabetes, but also increases the likelihood of weight gain due to the way the body processes excess sugar. Additionally, sugary foods are often high in empty calories and lack essential nutrients, further contributing to poor nutrition and long-term health complications. Beyond the physical health risks, sugar also has a significant impact on mental health. The rapid fluctuations in blood sugar levels can contribute to mood swings, irritability, and anxiety. In some cases, people may develop an emotional reliance on sugar as a way to cope with stress or negative emotions. The temporary relief that sugar provides may mask underlying emotional issues, but it does nothing to address the root causes of those problems. This reliance on sugar as a source of comfort creates a vicious cycle where individuals turn to sugary foods when they feel stressed, only to experience further emotional distress as the effects of the sugar wear off. In many ways, sugar provides a false sense of comfort. While it may provide an immediate feeling of pleasure or satisfaction, this comfort is fleeting and ultimately unsustainable. The longer individuals rely on sugar as a coping mechanism, the more difficult it becomes to break free from its addictive hold. People may continue to consume sugary foods as a way to self-soothe or avoid confronting difficult emotions, but this only perpetuates the cycle of emotional eating and poor health. In this way, sugar offers a temporary escape from discomfort, but it does not provide true healing or long-term solutions. The widespread consumption of sugar has also been linked to an increase in mental health issues such as depression and anxiety. Studies have shown that diets high in sugar can lead to imbalances in brain chemistry, which may contribute to the development of mood disorders. The dopamine release associated with sugar consumption can create a temporary feeling of well-being, but over time, the brain becomes less responsive to these signals, leading to a decreased sense of pleasure and an increased craving for more sugar. This can result in a cycle of emotional and physical distress that is difficult to break without making significant changes to one's diet and lifestyle. The emotional and physical toll that sugar takes on the body is undeniable. While it may provide temporary comfort, the long-term effects of sugar consumption can lead to a range of health problems, both mental and physical. Breaking free from the grip of sugar requires a conscious effort to reduce intake and find healthier ways to cope with stress and emotional discomfort. This might involve incorporating more whole foods into one's diet, engaging in regular physical activity, and finding alternative methods of emotional support, such as talking to a counselor or practicing mindfulness. By addressing the root causes of stress and emotional eating, individuals can begin to break the cycle of sugar dependence and achieve better overall health. In conclusion, while sugar may offer temporary relief and comfort, it ultimately has harmful effects on both the body and mind. Its addictive nature, combined with its ability to provide false comfort, creates a cycle of dependence that can lead to a variety of chronic health conditions and emotional struggles. By becoming more aware of the role that sugar plays in our lives and making conscious efforts to reduce its consumption, we can take steps toward achieving better physical health, emotional well-being, and a more balanced lifestyle. Indulgences, but from addressing underlying issues and finding sustainable, healthy ways to cope with life's challenges. In today's world, where convenience and affordability often dictate our food choices, the prevalence of unclean and forbidden foods is a growing concern. These foods, whether tainted by harmful chemicals, pesticides, or unethical production processes, pose significant risks to both our health and the environment. Moreover, cultural and religious beliefs have played an important role in shaping food restrictions, with certain foods considered taboo for moral, spiritual, or health related reasons. The widespread consumption of unclean foods has serious consequences, ranging from foodborne illnesses to long term chronic diseases, while disregarding food taboos may lead to ethical dilemmas and cultural conflicts. Unclean foods are generally those that have been contaminated or improperly handled during production, processing, or storage. These foods may contain harmful bacteria, viruses, or toxins that can lead to serious illnesses. One common example of unclean food is meat that has not been properly stored or cooked, which can harbor dangerous pathogens such as Salmonella or E. coli. The rise in industrialized farming and mass food production has led to an increase in the use of pesticides, growth hormones, and other chemicals that are harmful to human health. While these chemicals may increase crop yield and reduce costs for producers, they can also have negative long-term effects on human health, then contributing to issues such as cancer, endocrine disruption, and antibiotic resistance. The dangers of unclean foods are not limited to contamination from pathogens or chemicals. Processed foods, often loaded with preservatives, artificial additives, and excess sugars, are also considered unclean by many health experts. These foods, while convenient, provide little to no nutritional value and contribute to a range of health problems, including obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. The high levels of salt, sugar, and fat found in many processed foods can cause an imbalance in the body's systems, leading to chronic conditions that may not manifest until years later. The overconsumption of these foods can also disrupt the body's natural balance and metabolism, making it difficult for individuals to maintain a healthy weight and energy levels. In addition to unclean foods, certain foods are considered forbidden in various cultures and religions. These foods are prohibited for reasons that may range from spiritual beliefs to health concerns. For example, in Islam and Judaism, pork is forbidden because it is considered impure and unclean. In Hinduism, the consumption of beef is prohibited due to the sacred status of cows in the religion. These food restrictions often have deep cultural and religious significance and are followed by millions of people around the world. In some cultures, certain foods are forbidden during specific times, such as fasting periods, to encourage self-discipline and spiritual growth. While these food taboos may seem restrictive to outsiders, they are integral to maintaining cultural identity and adhering to religious teachings. The consumption of forbidden foods can lead to ethical and cultural conflicts, particularly in multicultural societies where different religious and cultural practices coexist. In such societies, individuals may feel pressured to conform to certain dietary norms, leading to feelings of exclusion or discrimination. Furthermore, the commercialization of food products often disregards cultural and religious sensitivities, leading to the production and sale of foods that may be offensive or unacceptable to certain groups. The global food industry, in its drive for profit and market expansion, may fail to consider the diverse food practices and beliefs of different communities, leading to tensions and misunderstandings. However, the issue of unclean and forbidden foods is not merely a matter of cultural or religious practice. It also has significant implications for public health. The global rise in foodborne illnesses, many of which are caused by contaminated or improperly handled foods, highlights the importance of food safety and hygiene. Governments and regulatory bodies around the world have established food safety standards and guidelines to protect consumers from harmful foods. However, these regulations are not always strictly enforced, and incidents of food contamination continue to occur. The increasing globalization of the food supply chain has made it more difficult to ensure the safety and cleanliness of all food products, as food can be sourced from countries with varying levels of food safety standards. To combat the dangers of unclean foods, individuals must be more mindful of what they consume and where their food comes from. Choosing organic and locally sourced foods, avoiding heavily processed products, and ensuring that meat and dairy products are properly handled and cooked are just a few ways to reduce the risk of consuming unclean foods. Additionally, respecting cultural and religious food restrictions is an important way to foster greater understanding and tolerance among diverse communities. Whether it is avoiding the consumption of pork for Muslims and Jews or refraining from eating beef for Hindus, honoring food taboos shows respect for others, beliefs, and values. In conclusion, the issue of unclean and forbidden foods encompasses not only health risks, but also cultural, ethical, and social considerations. By becoming more aware of the potential dangers of unclean foods and respecting the food taboos of different cultures and religions, individuals can make more informed choices that contribute to both their personal well being and the greater good of society. Proper food handling, safer food production practices, and a deeper understanding of the cultural significance of food restrictions can help reduce the prevalence of unclean foods while promoting a more harmonious and respectful global community. In today's world, people are increasingly faced with the dilemma of choosing between genuine worship and the false comforts that modern society often offers. This choice touches on the very core of human existence, presenting individuals with the challenge of deciding between deep spiritual fulfillment or the fleeting, artificial satisfaction that comes from materialism, entertainment, or superficial pleasures. As society becomes more fast paced and focused on convenience, the idea of true worship, whether through religion, personal growth, or connecting with a higher purpose, often takes a back seat to the pursuit of comfort and instant gratification. This struggle between authentic spiritual practice and the allure of false comforts not only impacts individual lives, but also has broader implications for communities and societies. Worship, in its many forms, has historically been a means for individuals to connect with something greater than themselves. It can be a religious practice, a form of meditation, or a commitment to living according to certain values or beliefs. True worship involves dedication, discipline, and a conscious effort to align one's life with higher principles, whether it be through prayer, acts of service, or seeking enlightenment. The rewards of worship are profound, offering a sense of purpose, peace, and connection to the divine or the greater good. It provides an opportunity for individuals to transcend the mundane and focus on values that promote long-term fulfillment and inner peace. However, in the fast-paced and materialistic world we live in, such practices are often neglected or replaced with temporary distractions. On the other hand, the appeal of false comfort is overwhelming in modern society. The rise of consumerism, entertainment, and the constant bombardment of advertisements create a culture that encourages people to seek immediate pleasure, instant gratification, and superficial comforts. These false comforts, whether in the form of material goods, mindless entertainment, or even unhealthy habits, offer only temporary relief from the stresses and challenges of life. They do not address the deeper needs of the soul or the long-term well-being of the individual. While they may provide short-term satisfaction, they often leave a person feeling empty and disconnected in the long run. This creates a cycle of constant searching for the next fix of comfort, leading to a never-ending pursuit of fleeting pleasures. The choice between worship and false comfort is particularly challenging in a world where time is scarce and distractions are endless. Modern technology and the rise of social media have further complicated this decision. The convenience of accessing entertainment and comfort at the touch of a button has made it harder for people to prioritize spiritual practices or deep, reflective thinking. The constant presence of online content, the pressure to stay connected, and the cultural emphasis on instant gratification create a barrier to true worship and personal growth. People find themselves caught in a cycle of seeking comfort without ever taking the time to reflect on their deeper needs and values. Moreover, the pursuit of false comforts can often be accompanied by feelings of guilt, anxiety, or dissatisfaction. People who turn to material possessions or excessive entertainment as a means of coping with stress or personal struggles may experience a temporary sense of relief, but this relief is rarely lasting. In contrast, true worship, whether religious or philosophical, brings with it a sense of contentment and alignment with one's true self. It offers a deeper sense of peace that material comforts can never provide. When individuals choose the path of worship, they are engaging in a process of self-discovery and spiritual growth, which leads to lasting satisfaction and peace of mind. The decision to choose worship over false comfort is not an easy one. It requires individuals to go beyond their immediate desires and focus on what truly matters in life. It involves cultivating discipline, setting aside time for reflection, and making sacrifices in order to pursue higher goals. Worship in its truest form is not about seeking validation or approval from others, but about connecting with a sense of purpose and meaning that transcends the self. This is in stark contrast to the pursuit of false comfort, which is often driven by external factors, such as the desire to impress others or escape from discomfort. Cultural and societal pressures play a significant role in this dilemma. In a world that often prioritizes instant gratification, the message of true worship may seem outdated or irrelevant. People may feel pressure to conform to societal norms that emphasize material wealth, status, or pleasure as indicators of success. This can create a sense of dissonance for individuals who wish to pursue spiritual growth, as they may feel alienated or unsupported in their journey. However, true worship, whether through religious practice or personal reflection, is an antidote to this cultural emphasis on superficial success. It provides a deeper sense of fulfillment that cannot be obtained through external validation or material wealth. In conclusion, the choice between worship and false comfort is one that every individual must face. While modern society offers countless distractions and false comforts that promise instant satisfaction, these pleasures are ultimately fleeting and unfulfilling. True worship, however, offers long-lasting fulfillment, peace, and connection to something greater than oneself. It requires effort, discipline, and a willingness to look beyond immediate desires in order to achieve a deeper sense of purpose and meaning. In a world dominated by materialism and superficiality, the decision to prioritize worship over false comfort can lead to a more meaningful and satisfying life. By making this choice, individuals can find greater fulfillment and inner peace, contributing not only to their personal growth, but also to the well-being